are live now.
We are. All
We
right.
are. I pressed live.
Remember your mic, Melanie.
Yeah.
Oh, poo. I thought I turned it on unless I just turned it off.
You can well, you have to make sure that on the microphone it's on, and then on the channel in or line in it's on too.
Okay. I turned on the line and I covered up the word that says on, so I'm hoping that means it's on.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
We're live. So hey, all right. We're alive with Talking Tech, and we should be live. We just added Twitter. So you checking your hair? Yeah.
I am.
You checking your hair? Yeah.
It got cut.
It got cut.
It got cut.
Hey, Colt got a haircut.
Yes, I did.
What wonderful stimulation. Stimulating content.
This is a fabulous conversation.
I know. So, hey, welcome to Talking Tech on this Veterans Day. And I just want to say thank you to all the men and women who have served in our armed forces. I can't say enough. There's no words to say how much we appreciate what every one of you have done. So, hey, thanks for me. So, hey, joining me is Colt. He's usually behind the camera. He was on with Charley last week when I was out, and Charley's out this week. So Colt's out in front again.
I'm back.
Sorry, a month. Yeah. So, welcome to Talking Tech. This is where we answer your questions live. We have in front of us a nice little monitor with all the different chats from. We're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, all at the same time. And you can chat with us live. If you have any technology questions, you can do that and post that in there, and we'll see if we can answer them. Otherwise, we're going to fill most of the time with technology news and what we find interesting, what we find fascinating.
Don't be shy to interrupt.
Yeah, don't be shy to interrupt.
Never stopped me before.
I know. So I should say, joining us in the producer's chair today is Miss Melanie, who many of you know as the Crabby Librarian from around town and other places. So say hi, Melanie.
Hello.
Yep. So I'm watching the stream in slow motion on my phone. It's kind of cool. So this is the first couple of times we've done Twitter, and I'm actually kind of impressed with how Twitter is doing their
hello, Judy.
Their video. Hey. I like when people say hi. Hey, if you're watching, feel free to say hi. All right. So let's talk a little bit about our friends at Twitter. So Twitter is releasing a paid subscription service. So it's like Twitter, but you pay for it.
So like a Twitter Plus.
They're calling it Twitter Blue.
Okay.
Because they've always gone with blue colors and stuff like that. That's always been their color scheme. It's Twitter Blue. Theme. And so what I'm trying to figure out is this new paid version. It basically allows you to load up longer videos and stuff.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if it's more for marketers.
You've got a question.
All right, from Morgan. So tell me what to look for in a new PC for Windows 11 with 2 monitors. What do I look for in a new monitor? It's been years since I bought one.
Oh, that's your department.
That's all me, yeah. So excellent question, Morgan. Thank you. So really, here's the kicker, Morgan. What's killing us right now with buying new PCs is a huge graphics card shortage. If you walk into a store right now, we needed to buy an off-the-shelf PC because I couldn't get it through our normal vendor. So I actually went out to a local big box store to get one, and they had to run my driver's license because the shortage is so bad that they're limiting it to one basically graphics card per person or 2 graphics cards per person. And they ran my driver's license. So that's kind of the killer now with monitors, is getting a good graphics card. Most stuff that's built in for just normal day-to-day kind of office work or library work, you can get away with just about anything. You're going to end up needing to have an adapter that does DisplayPort and or HDMI. A lot of the PCs will support 2 monitors right out the get-go. But it'll be 2 different types of connections. So there'll be a DisplayPort port on the back and then a HDMI, or a couple of the ones we just bought here have 2 display ports. Poor eyesight. So I'll be honest with you. A couple of things with the Windows 11 I do like. in 10 and in 7, you had the ability to change up the resolution, basically to kind of do an artificial zoom onto your monitor. Windows 11 does a much better version of that. The zoom that's in there, so you can basically magnify your screen. So start out with a large screen. With poor eyesight, I wouldn't go less than, say, a 22 to 24-inch monitor. If you can get bigger, that's better. And then maybe do like 150 on the zoom. And as far as brands and types of monitors, when it comes to like Dells, I'm still a huge fan of the Ultra Sharps. They are very expensive right now. All monitors are very expensive because, again, they're in short supply. I think when I was looking at monitors recently, your average Ultra Sharp monitor went up about $100. And that's not really price gouging. That's just literally lack of supply. Office is using 19-inch square.
That's
yeah.
this, right?
No, it's a 17-inch square. Yeah, 19, no bueno. No bueno. Yeah, Ultra Sharp is good. I'm trying to think of, I still really like ViewSonics. Absolutely love ViewSonics. They've always done well. Spectre is a good one for a low price. I won't say cheap because they're not cheap. They're fairly well made, but they're a budget conscious monitor. Yeah, I would still stick with. It looks like I know you like the Ultra Sharps. I would stick with an Ultra Sharp, and I would go with a 22 or 24 at least. And as far as dual screens, now the big thing with the dual screens, this is a silly thing, but I absolutely am telling everyone to do it. If you're doing dual screens, get the dual monitor head stands. So instead of having trying to get them to, even with the Ultra Sharps because they have a little bit better of a adjustment, get the 2-headed stand. Dell makes them for the Ultra Sharps. They're really nice. We just got a bunch here. And what I like is they're designed to get the monitors as close as possible and lined up as evenly as possible so that when you're looking across, you're not getting as much eye strain. Because it's funny. I have on my desk, I have one monitor in front of me and 2 on top. Okay.
A little control center.
What's that?
So like your
my little space control center, because I have 2 other computers next to me. And I use that same kind of stand. I have an older version of it for the ones on top. And it's really nice because I can angle them both just right and drop them down evenly. And it works really nice
patrons, the public
to keep them even.
Computers are going to shut down in 5 minutes. Please save your work and exit your program. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Margaret. She's actually in the building tonight, so it's even funnier. Margaret is the voice of our automated announcements. So yeah, absolutely get the instead of trying to do 2 independent stands, get the single stand. It's the best way to go, in my opinion, for a dual monitor setup. Now they also have, if you really want to go berserk, they do have a triple monitor setup. If you really want to go nuts, you can set them up and basically it clamps onto the edge of the desk. Okay. And you have to then secure it a little bit. I've been playing around with the curved monitors for a number of years now. Because they've been making them since the early 90s. There's really big curved monitors, and some of them look like projection TVs. Do you ever see a projection TV at all? Where it was one of those, it's a big screen TV, but it kind of has like an angled back because really what it's doing is shooting the signal up and then towards you. The early HD TVs were like that. The early big wide monitors, like you would use for like a driving simulator, were projection TVs basically. So it put out like 1,000,000 degrees.
It was probably really hot.
And I think that's why I have back problems, because I helped a friend put one on his desk, and I swear it was 400 pounds. It was the heaviest thing I've ever lifted them up in my life. But some of the new ones, and here's the thing. Go into a place like a big box store, whether it's a Best Buy, a Micro Center, or wherever. They're going to jump on you about trying to buy something. We all know that.
It's their job.
That's their job. And hey, they got to make money. But go in and look at stuff. And then go back and then price shop online. Sometimes you may go back to that big box store because they're running a special Black Friday special, which is coming up for this holiday season or whatever. But I spent a lot of quality time recently in a big box store just looking at monitors because I'm like, okay, do I like these curved, these OLED monitors? And Charlie and I were talking about this. I don't think we were talking about it live. I think we were talking about it in the office. OLED monitors are wonderful. That's the organic light emitting diode. They're wonderful monitors, but like a plasma monitor, they have a lifespan. So the plasmas, like early, so we had the projection TVs, then we got to the plasma TVs. So like everyone's like, oh, plasma is great. Plasma TVs die. They have like a lifespan. They just don't go any further than a certain point. The OLEDs have a lifespan.
After a certain amount of time, they get screen burn, don't they?
They die. Yeah, they die. Exactly, it's screen burn. So it's back in the days. I know some of the listeners know darn well that back in the day we ran screensavers not because they were pretty. It's because they burned out the cathode ray tubes. The screens would burn into them, and I've even seen that with some of our TVs here where we use for our calendar system. We have like 5 TVs in the building that show our calendar and our events and do some advertisements, and we're getting some screen burn in those. And those are just those are regular LEDs. So yeah. So I hope, Morgan, that kind of answers. Yes, flying toasters. Thank you for bringing that back. No one is ever going to forget flying toasters. If you're of a certain age, do you know what flying toasters are? No, dude, I knew.
I do, but I'm waiting for you to tell me.
Oh, flying toasters was one of the when you bought an extra. Colt's gonna look it up on his phone. What you could buy a extra add-on pack to Windows 95 and Windows 98, and one of them was flying. You got it. That's the screen. It's flying toasters. And the funny thing is, it's flying toasters and toast because it was important. Toast, awesome. Jim Gaffigan was on about toast an entire routine, and I think it came from this. But yeah, you could add on to Windows with that. Yeah. And the funny thing about flying toasters is that the screensaver actually came from a company called Video Toaster. Do you remember the TV show Babylon 5? So it was the aliens and the space, and kind of like a space station. It's pre Star Wars, Deep Space Nine. Okay, that's okay. So Babylon 5 was a pretty popular TV show. A lot of people really liked it. There's a pretty good fan group around it. Babylon 5, a lot of the graphics started as a demo for this company called Video Toaster, and the flying toasters were one of their demo graphics because what their hook was
way before I was born.
Probably.
Way
before
decade.
He was born. Yes, yes, Morgan. Because
good decade.
Morgan is older. Morgan is a bit older than I. So she's and I'm old. Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome.
But
I hope my microphone really is working.
I think it is.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, I'm watching to see if your mic picked up. Yeah, your mic. It literally, I can see her a couple seconds later on my phone saying that. So Video Toaster, their whole big shtick was back in the day when we wanted to do video rendering. So like Industrial Light and Magic or whatever, they were using SGI boxes, silicon graphics. And I mean, we're talking like mega horsepower, like computers as big as this desk and just crazy stuff. And Video Toaster showed up and they were like almost a desktop size PC. And they were cranking out these like intense graphics. It was a really cool company. I don't remember. I have no idea what happened to them. I don't know if they got rolled into Weta or Industrial Light and Magic or anything like that, or Pixar. I mean, they were like Pixar quality back before Pixar existed, before Steve Jobs or any of those folks even had a dream of a little light jumping around and smashing things. So, yeah. So there's your trip down memory lane for Shawn, and thanks for the ride, Morgan, because she's with me on that one.
The rampaging Pixar land.
Yep. So I've known Morgan for a very long time. So Twitter. So back around. Back to Twitter. Back to Twitter. So yeah, Twitter Blue. I have not wrapped my mind around it. I mean, it's a paid service for Twitter. I was talking to one of our pages, who's oddly enough also named Morgan, by the way. And she had heard of it because she's a technology person too, and she was like, "Yeah, I have no idea what it is and what it's for." And so we're kind of all on the edge, going, "Okay, Twitter, what are you doing?" It's right up there with our friend Facebook.
Trying to scoop in some YouTube creators.
I don't know if it's YouTube creators or just
marketing
content marketers. Yeah, because I mean, we use Twitter for here because our school system uses Twitter, and so we can get our message out to a lot of users that way. But I don't think our populace is really into Twitter organically. I think it's because it was a platform chosen by a couple of entities, not just our school system. There's a couple other entities around here that primarily use Twitter to get their messages out. And so I don't know if it's organic or not for us. So it's kind of interesting. So what's one of your stories? You want to talk about something else, social media maybe?
All right.
He's going to the phone. He's
We're
going to the
going to
phone.
the
Is that where your
phone.
notes are?
Yeah, that's where my
All
where my
right.
notes are.
I usually keep my notes in Evernote, but I put them on paper because I'm using my phone to monitor the streams.
So you must have missed the discussion last month when you weren't here about both of them using technology and how you use paper.
I know. Well, at some point, we all talked about hooking our laptops up and bringing them into the video mixer so that we could cut to our laptops for pictures and things. But we haven't quite got there yet.
Well, I appreciate you decided not to do that this month when I was
Yeah.
running the behind.
So which one you got?
Google removing dislikes from YouTube.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
So Google owns YouTube, and they announced that they were just gonna cut the whole dislike system. So you get the thumbs up, thumbs down. They're getting rid of the thumbs down. Which
So it's just like, I like. There's
Yeah.
no I don't likes.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
uh,
What was the rationale behind it? Did you read any of that?
it looks like it's just to keep like marketing things, like advertisements from getting disliked into oblivion just because they're advertisements,
Interesting.
which I'm sure.
Yeah.
I
I'm on both sides of the fence. I do online marketing
mhm.
as part of my job here, but I'm also a content consumer, and I'm like, this is the fourth time I've seen blah 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 ad at home while watching things,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I would dislike the life out of that. I guess the one thing I did see for rationale for that in some of my research was dislikes is a form of online bullying.
And censorship almost.
It's a censorship, online bullying, because you can dislike something into oblivion,
Oh yeah.
just like an ad, but you could also do that to a person who wants to, and I've watched it.
You can ruin their chances in the algorithm.
Yeah, pretty much.
With
And yeah, I think Melanie and I knew
dislikes.
a student who was doing some of her own YouTube stuff, and high school folks sometimes can be pretty
Yeah.
vicious to each other.
I mean, high
Um,
schoolers are mean.
and well, you're a high schooler, so you can say that.
I can.
Yeah, but high schoolers, I really felt like it was social. It was kind of online bullying. Basically they downvoted her to oblivion, and you can block people, by the way, on YouTube, but that hasn't always been around. Like you can block because every once in a while we get weird
Good
spam.
evening, Madison patrons. The Madison Public Library is going to close in 10 minutes. Please make your final selections and bring them to the checkout desk at this time. Pick up all copies and printouts. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Margaret. So that ability to block people hasn't been around forever. Because like I was just saying, I have videos scheduled to go up, like when you schedule stuff, because
I put
most
up the
of-
Good Morning Madison.
most of you don't know that Colt does a lot of our video editing. He's taken a lot of the load off of myself and a couple other people. So he's he's spearheading it. And so most of anything that we have that's been released as a non-live stream, he's the editor. He's already put it together and worked with Joe to make graphics. And so you schedule stuff in YouTube.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the back end of YouTube, the comments and stuff.
No.
But you'll have something scheduled to premiere, like Good Morning Madison, that will premiere. By the way, premieres at 8:30 every Monday morning. Shameless promotion.
8:30 a.m.
8:30 a.m. Yes, 8:30 a.m. Shameless promotion. You can watch Good Morning Madison.
Watch it.
You really want to watch it, yes, because it's all the news of what's going on for the library and our bookmobile. Shameless promotion for the week.
Okay, I guess we're done with shameless promotion.
Yeah. So, but
Disliked into oblivion.
dislikes into oblivion. Not anymore. No, it's funny because sometimes there will be a comment on the thing before it even premieres, because there's a way to get around the premiere system to put a comment on, and so they'll put on comments and it's spam. It's like links to people's websites in China and India and like a lot of foreign countries, and it's bots and stuff. And I'm not knocking foreign countries or anything. It just happens to be a lot of those, like Russia and places like that. So I have to go in usually a couple hours before and remove all of those because nobody wants to see that. It's kind of crazy.
Not related to Madison Public
Not
Library.
related to the library at all. Not related to the library at all. So it's gonna be interesting to see like have the dislikes, because there is something to looking at a video and seeing the likes and dislikes and going, okay,
the ratio.
do I really want to watch this,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is, you know? And I think as a content creator, I kind of wanted to see the dislikes because, you know, sometimes you get in your own head and you're like, oh, I'm just producing this awesome stuff. And you put it out there and you're like, either nobody's watched it or like everyone's disliked it. I'm like, what on earth did we do? You know, that doesn't really happen to us a lot, thankfully. But like as an independent creator, yeah, knock on wood. As an independent creator, you know, I have worked with people and we put up stuff and we're like, this is utterly brilliant. And then like it's all these dislikes and I'm like, oh,
it's not utterly brilliant.
What happened? We thought we were geniuses, you know. And it's usually something small because a couple of times people have commented and they're like, you know, your staging was wrong on this or something like that. So a lot of times it's little vignettes, videos, comedy stuff. Yeah, I love our tangents sometimes. So what else you got for social media? Because you had another one, didn't you?
I did.
Yes, because I just want to have a good old fill time with this one.
All right, we can talk about Facebook.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you were going to talk about.
All right.
So what's your vibe on that?
So Facebook has stated, or rather Meta, because it's Meta now. Meta has stated that Facebook will no longer target ads and advertisements based on politics, race, and other sensitive topics. So, I mean, it's pretty.
It's interesting. I mean, I know both of us are sitting here going,
Will they actually?
That's
because that's a lot of money for them. They make
You
a
know,
lot of money,
and I mean,
on targeting advertisements.
yeah, I mean,
based
They
on that.
got so much bad press.
Oh,
Yeah.
they did get a lot of bad press.
mean,
They've
there's-
been lambasted for the past year.
I mean, there's no question that I feel like social media is heading to the place where newspapers were heading when they were, you know, the early days of newspapers. People printed all kinds of crazy
They
things.
printed whatever they wanted.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this health tonic made from these roots will, you know, cause you to grow 4 feet and be muscular or whatever. You know, the truth in advertising stuff came out, you know, a lot of those laws, those rules, I mean, all came out initially with newspapers because they were printing whatever they wanted. I mean, slander laws and all of those things kind of came about because of newspapers, because people were calling each other horrible, awful things, which sounds vaguely like social media right now. I feel like that social media is all of social media, regardless of platform, is heading straight on into the territory newspapers were. Newspapers and radio initially. You know, none of us were around when newspapers were being born, basically. None of us were around when radio was taking off and just
way before.
Nothing was regulated. And, you know, and regulation is also equality too. I mean, you know, there were radio stations who weren't going to broadcast certain types of music, certain people, certain comments, things like that, newspapers, etc. So it's, I mean, interesting place to go from a marketing standpoint. So I'll put my evil marketing guy hat on.
All right. Okay.
It would be better if you had a hat.
Gosh, I have so many hats at home because that's the one thing I do collect. You know, Colt, because we have some story time props behind us. He was almost going to get me a hat if there was one back there.
I didn't see a hat.
I didn't know. So my evil marketing guy hat. So I'll twist my mustache up for the evil guy twisty thing. Yep. My snidely whiplash kind of thing going on. There are times I want to target ads based on gender.
Yeah.
You know, there are services and programs that we have that I feel like appeal to certain genders. I'm not saying that, you know, they don't appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I know for a fact that the majority of our Facebook users are female based on the statistics. And there are a certain age range. So I know age and gender. So when I advertise to Facebook, I know that
I have to appeal to
you know,
the group
women of a certain age that I know will respond better. Now, it doesn't mean that I only put up things that are for
Mhm.
women of a certain age. Because if you follow our Facebook, I put up all kinds of things. But I feel like using that information helps me decide a little bit better of how I'm targeting my audience. I'm not manipulating the audience. And I think that's some of the concerns about manipulating an audience that Facebook was used to manipulate.
Yeah.
Because, we all have clicked on the thing that looks like a Facebook story or a post, and really it's an ad.
Yep.
You click on that and you're like, oh, why did this just show? Because I go in and police my ads I've liked in
Mhm.
Facebook a lot, and I'll basically unfollow and unlike all those ads or block them.
Yeah.
And I was amazed at the things I clicked on that were ads that I thought were stories and things. But from a marketing standpoint, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat, Twitch, the demographics are important. I know the demographics for Twitch are not female, and they're not of the same age range as as Facebook. So what are you using to target males of any age?
Twitch.
So Twitch is definitely male oriented, without question. Twitch is also, unfortunately, unreported, but also I would say upper elementary to middle school age range.
But that you only get with talking to people.
Officially,
you don't know that.
officially, I don't know that by talking to people. Twitter is very male dominated. Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook very female dominated. Snapchat, a very specific age range, mostly female dominated, but definitely a number of males on there. You still use Snapchat at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
most of the
post
guys,
anything
most
or-
of the guys here use Snapchat.
Yeah.
But those are definitely how I target things. Our website is definitely more male than female when I look at the demographics there. And as I move into different types of social media, YouTube, interestingly enough, is for us, it's a lot older folks. A lot of our YouTube users are, I would say, in their 60s.
Okay.
Because
That doesn't surprise me.
we don't track youth on YouTube, because that a couple of years ago they totally turned
There's
off any
a-
tracking for
Some
for
sort of
youth.
protection
Yeah.
policy.
But when you look at the demographics of the 18 or olders,
Mhm.
a lot of our YouTube users are I would say in their 60s, maybe their 70s, and then a decent number in their 30s.
Good evening, Madison patrons. The library is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thanks, Margaret.
So yeah, I look at all the demographics for everything, and I will say certain posts absolutely track better for different ages and genders,
Mhm.
without question. So with my marketing hat on, I'm trying to reach males. I'm trying to reach different age ranges. But on the flip side of targeting based on gender and age and politics, I can see that as a manipulation thing.
Yeah.
Because I know that Facebook got hammered. Well, actually, Instagram, which is still a Facebook company,
Yeah,
a Meta company. Sorry, a Meta company. It's going to take me a while to get used to calling them Meta. So Instagram got hammered pretty recently for targeting high school age
Females.
and targeting them in a way that wasn't very cool. It was basically body shaming, a lot of body shaming, and without question, it's hard being a high schooler, it's hard being a middle schooler, and to have a social media platform
That is pushing a narrative down your throat.
pushing a narrative down your throat,
Yeah.
playing to all your fears because it's being targeted based on ads. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. I mean, and I'm not saying it's just young ladies. There's definitely a lot of young men who are very, very body conscious. But Instagram was really called out recently for that, because that was one of the things that whistleblower who had testified to Congress and stuff about Meta now, as Facebook was called.
Yeah.
That was one of the things they were definitely targeting. Instagram, high school and middle school age, specifically young women, but I mean men definitely, or young men, they're definitely young ladies, which isn't cool. So so we kind of went down the dark road of scary unpleasant things on social media. And we did talk about Facebook being renamed Meta. I think nobody in this room is all that enthused with their new name. I realize that they're a company of companies because it's WhatsApp. I don't really use WhatsApp.
WhatsApp is like, okay, so Snapchat is really only an American thing, or North American thing. Like its user base is really only North America, and that's kind of like where it's stayed since it's
it's kind of cloistered
where it started.
Yeah. So WhatsApp is basically Snapchat everywhere else.
WhatsApp is the most downloaded messaging app outside of
Messenger.
Yeah.
So they own WhatsApp, they own Oculus, so the VR goggles. They own Instagram, Facebook. Am I missing somebody?
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp,
Oculus. Yeah. Portal and Facebook Workplace are in that mix too.
Yeah.
Because we use portals and Facebook Workplaces here. Yeah, so it's interesting that they're calling themselves Meta. Well, let's get to something fun. Something
fun.
Yeah.
Something upbeat, happy.
All right. So, I know if anybody's anybody on here is a library user, you probably have heard of a Playaway, and their parent company Findaway, which is actually from Solon, Ohio. They just got bought up by Spotify. So Spotify bought Findaway, which is the Playaway videos, that entire company, because they own a lot of other intellectual property. And basically, it's Spotify going toe to toe, trying to come up with against Audible, and against Overdrive, and against Hoopla.
Get in their audiobooks.
So for us, we use Hoopla. We use the app's called Libby, but the company's called Overdrive, which, by the way, is also an Ohio company. We use those to provide our ebooks and our audiobooks. Spotify's throwing their hat in the ring, and they bought Findaway at wholesale. And so it's gonna be interesting to see, because I've worked with Findaway. I literally was on a bus tour with Findaway on our way to Philadelphia for the Public Library Association conference a couple years ago.
It wasn't a couple years ago.
Okay, it was a long time ago. Thank you. Melanie was also on that bus, but
I'm never gonna get invited back to these.
probably not. No, you're fine. It was a couple years ago in my mind. Time's not linear.
You also have some chat things on.
I know. I see that.
Libby not working on Kindle Fire.
Yeah, Libby is definitely so. Overdrive continues to have their fight. So their app is called Libby. They continue to have their fight with our friends at Amazon because in essence, Amazon really doesn't want anybody else on their platform. Amazon's job is to make money selling books and magazines and audiobooks from their, because they bought Audible a number of years ago, to their consumers directly through the Kindle Fire. They really don't want some outsider who lets you use a library card for free to get content. It's never been in their best interest, but yet they've done it because I don't know.
They can.
I don't know why. I don't know why they ever let Overdrive on. I really don't. I don't know the history of that. I wish I did. But they let them.
Before it was like direct
I
competition.
think
No.
it's really easy to accidentally buy the books.
It's still very easy to accidentally buy the books. So we've had patrons do that, but I don't know. I don't know why, because Amazon had a pretty firm marketplace well before Overdrive had the option to get onto the Kindles. So I don't know. I don't know the history behind that, but I know it's a very tenuous relationship. I know Overdrive works hard to get us the content and get access, but they develop an app. It's just like developing for Apple. Apple is a really tight gatekeeper of their devices. They don't like they don't like people on there, and their rationale is that we don't want outside apps because they're not developed by us or approved by us. Mm-hmm. And so we can't guarantee that our hardware works as well as it should or to the best possible. That's always Apple's thing, is we won't let you on because we don't think you're going to work as well with our hardware. But yet we're not going to tell you how to work with our hardware. You're going to let you guess. You can tell I've developed apps for Apple and have not had the best experience. So Morgan says the first option was a Nook. Yeah. And Nooks are still around, sort of. So, you
Do they still
know,
make Kindles?
Hmm?
Do they still make Kindles?
yeah, they still make Kindles.
I haven't seen any advertising or anything for
Well,
a new
that-
Kindle in years.
That's the fabulous thing.
They don't have to.
They don't have to advertise. They don't have to advertise. Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, the Nooks,
Alright.
the Nooks was jumping through hoops to get an ebook on a Nook, but it still was there. But Nooks are still around. I can't remember what the company got spun off to because Barnes and Noble eventually spun them off again onto their own thing. Because Nooks were connected to Borders for a while, then Barnes and Noble for a while. Well, Barnes and Noble first, then Borders, then Barnes and Noble, then it's a weird history, very weird history. Yeah. I mean, people are buying Kindles. They just don't have to advertise Kindles. It's like you really don't have to advertise stamps. You don't have to advertise. There's certain things in the world you
Yeah.
just don't have to advertise very
Yep.
much, and that's kind of one of them.
Ooh,
You know,
old black and white Kindles.
yeah. I like to call those the intro Kindles or the reader only Kindles. Yeah, we have people coming in all the time still using them, and we had a patron just donate one because he just upgraded. So we use it sometimes to loan out books to our high schoolers. But it's interesting to see. I'm going to watch what Spotify does because we do work with Spotify here because that's who hosts our podcasts.
Which is also another shameless plug.
Yeah,
Podcast.
So shameless plug. We have 2 different podcasts. This program turns into a podcast at some point, and then we have our Theater of the Mind, which is a lot of the different staff here act as voice actors, and we have done Macbeth. We've done different horror stories. We just got done reposting all of our horror stories. Like Melanie read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I did a couple. Our director did a couple. We
do
read
Valentine's Day one?
We did Valentine's Day ones with
Yeah, Joe did
with love poems. Yep.
And I think we'll probably be doing
A Christmas Carol. A Christmas
Yeah.
Carol. So the entire production, and by the way, our production is not only just the voice actors, because Colt's been one of our voice actors, myself, Melanie, but we also have sound effects.
Yep.
And so, like for Macbeth, we had lightning and thunder and sword
Footsteps.
fighting and footsteps. Oh yeah, Joe puts a lot of effort into the sound effects, and a lot of us in this production team put it together. So, just a preview of coming attractions. We are doing Romeo and Juliet. Did I just steal your thunder, Melanie?
We did.
Okay. So, coming attractions, we are doing Romeo and Juliet probably after the first of the year, and we'll have a full voice cast of that.
And it'll be coming through the month of February.
Month of February, because it's a love story. Not.
Sort of.
It's
a tragedy.
But look forward to our podcast. So our podcast is on just about every platform you can think of. We're on Audible, we're on Amazon Music, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and then a whole bunch of podcast platforms that I don't really use. But when I asked people if they could find us there, we were there. So our podcasts are all over the place. So wherever you podcast, we're probably there. So you can listen to this program later. Or you can listen to our Theater of the Mind, which I pushed the Theater of the Mind because Joe does a really good job on the production of that. And Colt as well. Colt's edited, and I've done some editing.
Yeah.
So the shameless plug there. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Spotify does.
They gotta compete, so
Yep.
they're hopefully gonna do well.
Yeah, I know. So let's do some sciencey stuff. You want to do some sciencey stuff? I love sciencey stuff.
Sciencey stuff sounds
Yeah.
cool right now.
So our Paige Morgan and I were talking sciencey stuff because she's by the way, she's one of our robot people. So she's on our robots
That
team.
really doesn't sound good.
Sorry, yeah, she's not a robot. She's one of our. We have 2 pages both on the robots team.
Oh, what is that?
Okay, we're getting basically we're getting some spam.
Fun.
So if you want to kill out that spam, it's only people who are on a certain channel can see that, and that is coming in via YouTube. So remember that YouTube spam I talked about? Yeah, we just got some of it.
Okay, I think I didn't do it.
That's fine. We can kill it out. That's fine, Colt.
Oh, thank you.
You want to jump over there,
I
Colt?
think it
I
might
can
be a
do
good
that.
idea.
Okay, go for it. So Colt's going to jump over and kill some spam in the chat. So while we're doing that, I'm going to do a couple science stories. So I'm kind of fascinated by this. Some of you may or may not know. I unfortunately get kidney stones. I've never had the sound-based lithotripsy, but I have. I've had other types. But as they've been working with this kind of technology for the different types of sound, they basically kind of figured out how to float something using sound. So you've got a low frequency sound wave, and then a reflector. And you can, there's some videos. Look up specifically acoustic levitation, and you can float things. Well, some of this technology for acoustic levitation allows you to, in theory, act like a tractor beam. So if you've ever seen any science fiction show whatsoever, there are tractor beams. So we've still got chats going other places. You may have
accidentally blocked someone we shouldn't have.
That's fine. And so as we kind of do these tractor beams, theoretically they can take an object, float it, and move it wherever they want. So now think about floating a camera down through your body to find something, or floating an object in space to move it. So literally like telekinesis, like lifting something up using sound waves. So the technology is coming. It's around now, but they're being able to manipulate it better. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to cough in the mic. Silk, which is one of the greatest materials ever, because silk is strong, silk is light. They've been able to manipulate silk so that it's 95% reflective to sunlight. So imagine wearing something light and strong, say like you're a hiker. You go out hiking, your camping gear is made out of silk that literally is reflecting 95% of the light. So you're no longer getting overly warm. It's strong and it's light. It doesn't weigh a lot. So that's cool. So how are we doing back there behind the camera?
We think we accidentally blocked a real person plus the not real person.
Okay. You accidentally blocked Morgan then?
Yes.
We may have accidentally blocked
Because as the chat moved.
Okay. Hey, Morgan, if you're still listening, can you post something real quick? I want to see if it shows up in the chat window.
I've been learning new things that I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Colt's used to being behind the scenes, so he's used to being able to jump on this. Yep, that Morgan. She posted a me and it didn't show up. I can see it on the Facebook channel, but I don't see it in the Restream channel. That's okay. I still got Facebook up on me right here. I can see that. So, yeah. So Morgan is Libby Ivory, if you're blocking by name.
I'm trying to unblock.
Okay. Morgan accidentally got blocked by Colt.
Well, if he were actually running this, it probably
Yeah, it'd be
better
okay.
than me doing
Yeah, it's okay. So I'll do a couple more things. I've been following the Lordstown Automotive because it's in my backyard. And they just got bought up by Foxconn. So they weren't doing well, unfortunately, in the stocks. And it wasn't going great for Lordstown Motors. So $230 million, Foxconn bought them. So if you don't know who Foxconn is, if you own an iPhone or an Apple device, you're using Foxconn technology because they're probably one of the largest producers of iPhones, tablets, all of that. Foxconn is in the background of just about all the handheld electronic devices. And they were looking really, really hard into creating their own electric vehicle company. And frankly, Lordstown Motors was a steal. And so they bought them outright. So yeah, it's kind of amazing. So Foxconn is going to basically take over the Lordstown Motors, and that's in Lordstown, Ohio, and produce electrical vehicles. GM, by the way, is also producing a Hummer, so a Humvee for the fruit car, yeah, for Morgan. They're producing a Humvee for the military, a fully electrical Humvee. I'm enjoying watching the screen as Colt is trying to fix some things.
Well, I've learned a lot.
Yeah, well, this is always a learning process because none of us are professionals, and we're all learning as we go.
Well, I learned that I should have clicked one thing and not the other.
That's okay.
It popped up in the feed.
Uh-huh.
So, like, you know how this chat was separate? It came into the feed.
Oh. Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, not so often.
So let's do a couple. Morgan says, "Poor Colt." Colt's rocking it, and poor Melanie. She was on the tone when I was going. So I am kind of fascinated by this other story. Dollar General. I like Dollar General. I will admit, I like Dollar General very much.
They give out nice grants.
They give out great grants. In Library Land, we've always enjoyed Dollar General. They support summer reading. They support literacy. They're a cool company. I've always liked them. Okay, I admit I love Dollar General. So Dollar General is going to start doing deliveries via DoorDash. So you can order all of your Dollar General things online and have them delivered to your house via DoorDash. I think that's pretty cool. See a couple other stories. I'm looking at our time here. So this one, I'm going to put this in the giant scary zone. And unfortunately or fortunately, I've known about this technology for quite a while because it's been discussed in some of the communities that I belong to for information security and things. So recently made public was a U.S. intelligence report that a drone was used to attack a Pennsylvania power substation and take it out. And they did it in a pretty unsophisticated way, but oddly enough, the way that the U.S. government has been doing things. So as far back as Kosovo, so when I believe that was under President Clinton, we were doing some peacekeeping operations and some stuff in Serbia and Kosovo and over there. We were using drones like you can pilot. Colt has one to effectively drop confetti made out of aluminum onto power substations. And that confetti, of course, aluminum because is conductive, it would short out a power station. And they were called blackout bombs. And effectively, during the peacekeeping mission during Kosovo, in 1999, I do have the date here, we took out 70% of the power grid as a way to help handle insurgency and rebels and things like that. Hey, the tables got turned and someone did the exact same thing to Pennsylvania at a power substation. Exact same process. They basically dumped aluminum confetti and shorted out a power station. So it was kind of fascinating and scary. I saw this report. It made the rounds of the security community a little while ago. These blackout bombs, we've known about them for a while. We don't talk about them a lot because they're a little frightening. But they're out there, and so if your power goes out, it could be one of these. So that's a scary story. Let's talk about something fun.
I think this has been sort of a downer one. So
Yeah.
We're going to have to do
some good ones to really get excited. So happy stories. Well, I have another sad one. So let's see. What else do I have? Another sad one. Why do I all have sad ones? It's like certain people's book clubs. Nothing is happy in any of their book clubs. Actually, I do like this one. I'm excited. If you guys watch this often enough, or if you've ever met me in real life, yes, I'm not just a fictional character. I have always loved space. Absolutely. I had an uncle who I have an uncle, I should say, who knew an astronaut, from the Warren area. He sent me pictures from, he lived in Florida, and sent me pictures of the space shuttle. And our family has two folks who are astronomers. I love space. And I've always been fascinated, with other planets. I loved Princess of Mars. I loved, any of those movies, any of those books that talked about going to Mars or going to Venus, like Carson Napier of Venus, by the way. Local author down south is picked up that Carson Napier of Venus and started running with it and producing some books. So it's a good science fiction thing to check out. So there's a good book plug there. Hey, we're sending things back to Venus. The probes are called Da Vinci and Veritas. And so June 2nd, NASA announced that it will be sending 2 spacecraft to Venus. And I kind of missed this story somewhere along the line. It just showed up in my feed today. And they're gonna land. They're gonna land again. So we haven't been there since, I think, Mariner, maybe in the 70s. I could be wrong. I like Venus over Mars, because we're all talking about going to Mars. Everyone wants to go to Mars. Venus, while absolutely inhospitable, one of the hottest planets, in our solar system because of the basically greenhouse effect. It rains sulfuric acid. I think it's sulfuric acid that rains from the sky. I mean, there's all these horrible things about it. But Venus is the same size as Earth. It's basically our twin planet, and theoretically easier to terraform than Mars because Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. It got blown away by a solar flare or who knows what at some point because Mars had water and an atmosphere and no longer does now. And Mars is a lot smaller than Earth. I think most people don't realize that. Mars is quite small. And, so these probes going and landing is really cool. I'm fascinated. I want to know more about what's going on with our planets and what's going on around us. It's cool. So let's talk about some fun things while we wrap up the show. We got like 52. It's 7:52. We'll wrap up at 8. I want to do a little bit of a shameless plug for some of the things that we do here. We produce cooking videos, and I do some of those. Colt's my producer on that. So those will be coming out. So that's called Food Bites. And Melanie washes the dishes because she's also one of the producers in this.
Apparently that means washing dishes.
Yeah, among other things. I wash some of the things. Okay, Colt will figure out how we get the chat fixed again. Don't worry about it. I'll go in and look at it.
A little bit.
But we also produce craft videos. And so Margaret, who is the voice of our announcements, has done some really cool videos on knitting, as well as knitting plarn, which is the plastic yarn to make all kinds of cool things like mats and bags and just really neat things. So we have those videos up on our YouTube channel. We have content up for a broad range of people. Our Theater of the Mind is also up there. So you'll see a video with the audio behind it. Usually we put some kind of graphic up. So we have that content out. The other things we do here that are somewhat interesting is, some places call them maker spaces. We have what we call the create space. We're designed more for crafters and people who are going to create something for craft fairs or to sell at our village market or other places. We have a laser engraver that can engrave and cut different types of material. We only really charge to recoup for some of the HEPA filter costs. So it's pretty inexpensive to engrave something and cut something. There are other places in town. If you're going to do a lot of like big batch stuff, go to those other places. But if you want to just like do one thing or a small thing, give us a call. We have a vacuum former. If you need to make shapes to make like molds for soap or for chocolate or anything like that, we have a vacuum former available, and that's $1.50 for a sheet of the vacuum forming plastic, which is, by the way, fully recyclable and food safe. We did some classes where we made soap molds. I've done some for the holidays where we made chocolate molds. We also have a wide format printer. We have a 36-inch wide poster printer. If you have the right kind of graphic, and we can work with you on that to scale up a graphic, you can print a full-size poster. You need to print blueprints. You need to print off. They did full-size cutouts.
Yeah, full-size cutouts of our coworkers.
Of our coworkers and stuff. And by the way, we paid for those.
That stare at you when you're walking down the
I know.
hall.
Well, one of them happens to be,
Really
one of them is me. My pages, Colt being one of them, paid for my birthday to have a full-size me printed and put in my seat, so I walked in and found myself.
And now it stands in front of the door to his office.
Now it's an advertisement for the poster service because put that marketing hat on, that evil marketing hat.
I think we're gonna have to get you a hat.
I have so many hats. I should bring like a bowler hat or a top hat and a fake mustache and put on when I say I'm the evil marketer.
You know, when I saw you standing over in front of the studio talking to Morgan, I thought the cutout moved.
These are the cutout.
I thought the cutout moved.
The cutout's a little shorter than I am, but not by much. Yeah. So we talked about the laser. We talked about the vacuum former. We talked about the.
You have not done a shameless Charley plug for one-on-one appointments.
Yeah, we should do that. So
Right.
I think as we're getting things to wrap up, winding down, we do have 2 crickets available for cutting paper, and we can also cut fabric. So if you're doing quilting, we can cut quilt squares on or quilt shapes on our crickets. We have a button maker, a couple button makers, and we have a sewing machine available. So I know my friend Morgan out there is a sewing machine enthusiast. It is not a Singer sewing machine. I'm sorry, but it is a pretty decent sewing machine. It's a good one. And then let me do a shameless plug. So Charley, who's normally on with me, Not that Colt isn't cool. He's usually on the other
I
side.
can't be up here all the time.
Can't be up there all the time. Yeah, we can't
just
can't
for the
just
past 2 of them.
just past 2 of them. Yeah. So Charley does one-on-one appointments, so you can actually book an hour with Charley to work on whatever thing you need. If you need help, setting up an email account, if you need help looking at what's going on with your PC, if you need help doing stuff with your phone, Charley's there.
As the holidays are coming up, Charley is a good resource. So if you end up given something
she's doing a shameless plug.
that you do not know how to use, or you would like to learn how to use better, and it came as a gift, go ahead and book an appointment with Charley so he can go through with you how you use it.
I like to call those sometimes hand-me-ups, where folks in your family, as they've upgraded their devices, usually to an older member of the family, will say, "Here, mom, dad, aunt, cousin, brother, sister, whatever, grandma, here is my old laptop, or here is my old tablet, or here is my old phone," and you hand it to this person, usually without any instructions whatsoever, and then some people walk up and they're like, "I have this thing. I would like to use it. How do I use it?" I always love, after the first of the year, as people have received presents over the holidays, whether they're Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents or whatever, and they'll walk in and they're like, "Someone in my family gave me this thing. I want to know how to use it." And it's not always just older individuals. I've worked with the gamut of ages. One of my favorites is, there's a lady, she's, I would guess, probably in her 30s. She's younger than I am. And a lot of times she walks in and she says, "Okay, I bought this. I don't know what to do with it." I'm like, "Cool. We can play with that." And so Charley does a great job of that. And, he'll help you set up your devices. We've done a lot of phone transfers, because a lot of the phone companies just won't do the transfer from your old phone to your new one. And it's really not that hard for us. I mean, because we do them often. See, that's the thing with technology. Colt has helped out his family. I help out my family, but Charley and I and Joe and everybody who works here, it seems like we know how to do this, because it just seems so easy. But a lot of times when you come into the library, you're like the 10th person we've probably seen with the same phone thing. And so you get the benefit of the other 9 people ahead of you, where we've learned how to deal with all of the different things. We've done so many phones that now it kind of is a point where, okay, this is how we're going to do it, regardless of what carrier, what phone, whatever, we can get it transferred. So we've done that a lot. The other big service we've done, I have a couple of, this is the running joke, Shawn has old technology all the time. I have a couple of floppy drives that I have set up that work under Windows 10 or Windows 11. And so we've been transferring people stuff off of floppy drives onto flash drives. Literally we transferred someone's entire family history.
That was on a floppy drive?
That was on a floppy drive. In some program I've never heard of, but I could get it into Excel and I was able to run with it. Morgan, who also works in the library, says, "Yeah, phones are big for us. Setting up new ones." Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. I just, I don't think phone companies really do that much anymore. If you go to the store, I don't think they're really interested. Nope. And I mean, for heaven's sakes, this is your entire life for a lot of people, and getting all your contacts, your pictures. This may be the device that has the only copy of your first, second, third, all of your children walking, talking, their first loose tooth, who knows? So preserving that. So kind of as we're wrapping up, I will talk a little bit about preserving, because this is something that's becoming more and more something that we all have to think about. We have a digital life.
Yeah.
Colt, you're kind of a digital native. You've been born into this. Some of us have kind of migrated in. We're digital visitors, or we're on a digital visa coming into the country. But the thought of what you do with your digital life after you're no longer with us. Because think about, people have things wrapped up on their phones, things wrapped up in their Facebook accounts, things wrapped up in iCloud, and being able to pass that on. Because it's family histories that are wrapped up. That's, only pictures of certain people, your dad's or your mom's voice, after they've passed on is important. And companies are getting better at that. Facebook, by the way, just about everyone can set up their Facebook account that you can provide access to like 500 individuals. in the event that you pass away, that they can access your Facebook account to, be able to kind of up your affairs, but also retrieve all of your pictures and things. And Apple just basically said, okay, with iCloud, which is basically where everything on your Macs, on your tab, your iPads,
any
Apple device literally goes into the iCloud. You're going to be able to set up 5 people. And those 5 people are going to get special links that in the event that you pass on or whatever, one, they can kind of close out your stuff, which is always a fear after someone passes on. The last thing you want is your late grandmother's Facebook account sending you messages.
Yeah.
That's like creepy seance
Terrifying.
level stuff. That's like Paranormal Activity movie, or whatever. You don't want anybody to hack into that. So you want to kind of wrap it up and kind of finish it out. But again, entire digital lives are here. One of my kind of my favorite things I've ever seen in my life. I'm not really a big World of Warcraft player, but a friend of mine said, "Hey, you got to get on and check this thing out." And it was a memorial for a player.
Huh.
And so this player had passed on, and literally their character, as it kind of happens in a lot of things, stopped because they passed on during play.
Oh,
so their character was stopped. And so all of these other World of Warcraft players found out about it, and they basically kind of made a memorial to this individual.
Just
And very similar to the outpourings you find in real life. In real life, where people put flowers or balloons as a memorial to someone who's passed on. And it was surreal, but also kind of the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Is like giant uber nerds, but they made crafts, they made gifts, they made whatever, and made this nice little memorial to this individual, and then they figured out a way to share it with this person's family to let them know that this person
was loved
and cared about. I mean, World of Warcraft, it seems silly that, oh my gosh, it's silly, but that was that person's existence. And so they shared it with their family that all of these people from around the world, because World of Warcraft's still really big. All these people around the world felt and had played with this individual, on raids, and experienced and worked with them, and traded things in and out of game and stuff. And it was kind of cool to see like this outpouring of like, hey, you mattered. It was cool. It was cool. So sad but cool. So
are you managing to still end us on a sad note?
That's my overall goal for today. Is that this is the Debbie Downer.
Halloween's in October, right?
This is November. This is time to talk about turkey and getting overweight.
Yeah.
Right. Happiness and
Eating, family.
Or
there's a comma there.
Vastly more upbeat, correct?
Yes, vastly more. Literally, I don't know why, but like I am looking at my notes, and like all of these are sad stories. I just don't know why.
All right, Colt,
When I said eating and family, there was a comma between eating and family.
There is always a comma in eating. Let's eat grandma. There's got to be a comma there, because otherwise it's scary.
Eating, comma, family.
Morgan
comma,
says killing deer is
thankful.
November. Yes. The first day of gun season is after Thanksgiving, but it's archery and muzzleloader right now. I think. I think that's October.
End on.
Yeah, well,
we tried to bring it back around.
We tried to bring it back around, but we're not going to do it.
In the end.
No, but actually, again, I think I'm going to end how I began and say a huge thank you to the men and women who have served in our armed forces, whether you're serving now, because I have some friends who are currently serving overseas in a lot of places. I don't know where they're all at because they're not always allowed to tell me, but I hope you all are safe out there. And I want to say thank you to all the ones who have served and retired. You guys are awesome. And, if you get a chance when you're out and about and you see a veteran, tell them thank you, because they gave up a lot and their families gave up a lot for them to serve. And we all appreciate that. So I think I'll end with that and say, see everybody later. Hopefully see you in December. And we'll have more technology news and answer some tech questions, and go out and be good to each other. All right. Anything else you got, Colt?
We'll figure out the chat.
We'll figure out the chat. We'll figure out the chat. All right. So I got my mic off. All right. So I think we're going to cut the feed.